Get ready for Real Talk with Pasha B in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, this is Real Talk with Pasha B, and we are going to start our part 2 of part 1. If you haven't listened to part 2, which we were talking about dating woes, I think you should go ahead and listen to that podcast first before you tune into this one. However, we have the same people that were with us before. We have Ladyvee DaPoet. Welcome, Ladyvee.
Hello, hello.
And we have Will being very honest and candid.
Hello. Thank you.
And Sheneka. Hi. And to piggyback off of part 1, we're talking about intimacy. And I think I'm just going to say all these subjects that we're talking about relative to 2017, because 2007 was different. 2017 in this world of technology and everything that is instant now, fast gratification, instant gratification, things look differently. So what we want to do is talk about intimacy and some of the issues that may surround that subject. First thing that I want to mention is I think we have a tendency to confuse lust with intimacy. So what does intimacy mean to you, Sheneka?
To me, intimacy just means having an emotional bond with someone, being close, emotionally close, almost like having that best friend. You know, somebody you can confide in, someone you feel connected to.
Does intimacy always equate to sex?
No, because I believe you can be intimate with someone you have a platonic relationship with. Why did your eyes pop open? What? I think you're confusing lust with intimacy, ma'am. Ladyvee, what you think?
I think lust is a one night stand. I think lust is, oh yeah, I'm gonna hit that and everything like that. But I think intimacy is when you take the time to get to know somebody, you take the time to be their friend, or you want to spend time and spend company with that person. And like you said, it's the spark and it's the chemistry that you build when you're intimate with somebody. It means more than I'm just gonna hit you and forget you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, intimacy is a closeness that you have with someone. Doesn't have to be sexual, but it can be a really close friend, someone that's dear to you. I feel that you can have intimacy with that person. Lust is just you look at someone and you're lusting after them because you're thinking about what you want to do with them.
Mm-hmm.
So the difference between the two is the intimacy can be just touching someone's hand.
Mm-hmm.
The way you touch them, the way you look at them.
Is it the feeling?
The feeling that you have for that individual. But lust can be anything. Lust is mostly an instinct.
Do you think nowadays people they can't tell the difference of the two? So when they're actually looking for intimacy and not knowing what that means to them, they confuse it with lust. They confuse it with attention, and therefore you feel as though you think you're having an intimate relationship with someone, but it's not intimate. It's something else.
Yeah, loneliness have a lot to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to interject real quick. So, in doing my research, I always have my notes. I pulled up an article from Psychology Today, and they talked about skin hunger. That's the terminology they used. And one of the things the article referenced was, it said 3 out of 4 adults suffer from skin hunger. And pretty much that is having the want and the desire just for touch, physical touch. And I'm just going to highlight a few points. It says more Americans live alone than ever before. 1 out of 4 report not having a single person to talk about important issues. Loneliness, as Will just brought up, is among American adults. Loneliness among American adults has increased 16% in the last decade. And I think that, again, ties into this conversation because we're talking about dating. This is an extension of the conversation about dating. And if you have so many single people who are not in relationships and may not have someone to even have an intimate relationship with, someone to hug you, touch you, just to be close with. So I just want to throw that out there as we continue the conversation about intimacy and what that looks like. And how loneliness, and they also talk about depression, stress, also contributing to these lack of intimacy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there. So yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Skin hunger.
Skin hunger.
That sounds crazy.
What you mean? No, I think he could have came up with a better term. I mean, psychology today. Come on, y'all.
Skin hunger.
Professional.
Right. I'm not even sure.
Like
I think that sounds like loneliness.
Yeah. Skin
Is it
hunger.
loneliness?
It is loneliness.
Do you think? I think people lack touch.
Skin hunger. I wouldn't think of depression and skin hunger.
Well, let's talk about the importance of touch. Touch is very important. People are not getting that if they're not connecting with people. You have people who've been single for so long or not even have friendships, because I think now, and I know we're going all off subject, we live in such a transient society that people don't even have family or that they're close to in proximity to even get that, that feeling of being touched and hugged and loved, and then pair that with the dating scene sucks in Atlanta and you're not getting that as well. So that may create a situation where people are craving that attention. So they're opening themselves up to any and everybody, which creates this cycle of bad relationships and increases the baggage that people are dealing with.
So we should walk up to each other and hug each other every once in a while?
That's what poets do. Poets hug each other all the time.
Hey, hugging is good for the soul.
It is. Do you go up? Okay.
Greeting, you greet people, it doesn't have to be
especially
intimate,
in the South.
like,
Especially in the South.
You know what I mean? But yeah, it's good to, and I'm not saying just a woman, you see a woman, you just want to get all up in front of her. I'm just saying.
Give me a hug, girl. Give me a hug.
You want to bend all down.
I mean, I've watched documentaries about like homeless people and stuff like that, and like some of the homeless people say, I haven't been touched in 5 years. I haven't been, and no one's given me a hug in 10 years or whatever, and it affects you when you don't get that sense of touch.
Now pair that with dating. And I think that opens the door to people craving relationships. And when we talked about people...
But I think there's difference. It's the meaning behind the touch. Because if you're dating and dating in Atlanta, people touching each other all the time.
But I don't think that's conscious. I don't think that's conscious as far as knowing that's what you're looking for. You're craving that closeness, that connectedness. I think it looks like I'm going to the club, he talking to me, and you... falling for the foolishness that he giving you because subconsciously you're craving that attention. That don't do it. I'm processing.
I'm blaming on the alcohol.
I'm working this bachelor's of psychology I have, honey.
Okay, I have to process that one. I do think that touch is important. Don't get me wrong. I have to process that for me for that to sink in for me. I do think people are craving touch to a certain degree. What does that manifest like on the end? As far as what's the result of that? Is that us having dating issues or having or generically
making bad decisions?
Right.
In dating.
You want to be touched?
She don't listen. Can you help us out, Lady V? Did you hear me?
Well, I mean, I want to take it a little further if you want to get psychological with it or whatnot. It's like, especially in our community, we grow up in families with no dad at the house. They, we have little girls that are looking for attention and looking for, a male to show any kind of affection. So the minute we hit 17, 18 in the dating scene, it's like, oh man, he smiled at me. Let me have sex with him. And it's like, they rush into it because they're looking for a touch or a affection that their dad was never there. So it's just like, oh man, this is how I'm going to get it. Right. And it doesn't matter where it comes from.
Now that I do agree with. No, because you paralleled it to something that I do believe that the relationship that especially young girls have with men growing up is very important. I also believe that young males are taught to, this is going to sound bad, they know that if you tell someone that you love them, you'll get something, right?
That's true, Will. That's true.
Not necessarily.
And I'm not saying that it's consciously taught. I just think, you know, you have a mother who will look at her children. I love you. I love you. I love you. And they grow up thinking that if they tell these little girls that they love them, that they may ultimately get something no matter what it is. Even nowadays, some men can tell some women that they love them because that's what they want to hear and get whatever it is they're looking for. Doesn't mean that they love them. That doesn't even mean that the men know what love is. It's just a term that they've used that they know if they say it, it'll get them something. So you have young ladies who grow up without men, without hearing their worth. And as soon as somebody shows them any type of attention that's of the opposite sex, they equate that to something else and get in a situation early.
Get caught up.
Get caught up early.
I think generations, of course, have changed because me being a little older is just growing up during the times that I grew up in the 80s, mid to late 80s. Men didn't go around, I'm saying fathers and uncles, and they didn't go around expressing how much they love their siblings, their wives, hugging. It just wasn't a big deal. So that age group then is now like in their 30s, 40s. So that's different. Someone older will relate to things different because of the way they was raised when they were younger. So this generation now is, sad to say, 30 and under. God help them.
And you're looking at me. Okay. So with that, I will say, getting back to the whole intimacy part again, I think that opens itself up to people being receptive to things they typically probably wouldn't be receptive to had they, or if they were getting affection on a regular basis, or if they didn't have that skin hunger, if you will. As
skin hunger is bullshit. Calling bullshit on skin hunger.
We're gonna have to come up with a different term, psychology, today. I don't think I like that term either, but that's the term they use. Getting back to the another article, it said 15% of married couples have not been intimate with their spouse for between 6 months and a year. Why are you married?
What is that? Is it because you've heard I do and the game changed after? I've heard that from not my specific, my best friend.
Not Will friends. Will
Not
friends
my
is
friends.
not y'all.
No,
It's his
this
other
is not for
friends.
everybody.
Right.
There's other people out there, not my friends. I cherish my best friends' relationships with their spouse because I feel it's real love. But I've been around in the past. That's not the case. It's like once you say I do, and maybe you have a child or whatever, everything changes. The intimacy, back to intimacy, touching, the dating, the making the person feel special, all that changes after the marriage and the child.
So when the priorities change, because typically when a child comes along, that partner isn't necessarily the priority anymore.
Right,
it goes toward the child.
Right, but it's not always with the child. I'm friends in the past married and no kids, but your career takes you a different path, and the intimacy ain't there. You and your wife are like rabbits initially.
Is that intimacy?
Yes. No, that's not intimacy. I'm saying in everything. I'm just saying that.
Okay.
But everything with the intimacy along with that, everything is good. But the moment you get married, you go on your honeymoon, you come back from your honeymoon, you're going back to your normal working, living, and we were just talking about not being involved or whatever. That changed to where it's not like every other day that you're touching and feeling, you're cooking together, you're doing whatever together. Then it's like, oh, well, the job, I have to do this and do that. And you're not cooking together, not even eating dinner together anymore. Dinner's in the microwave.
And could it be also that people see marriage as the goal? So meaning they are working at this relationship, they're hanging out, they're doing all of this stuff to get to the marriage. And once they say the I do's, then they're no longer involved in the process of building that intimacy and connecting on a regular basis. Because I can say I know women, and I'll say women specifically, who that was my interpretation of what I saw. They're doing things that I felt was out of the ordinary. It's like, you don't do that. But once you get married, it's like, okay, I've got the goal. And from what I've read, because I'm not married, when you become married, that's when things begin. That's when the relationship really begins.
That's when it should begin.
Yeah.
But it's just like they feel like, hey, I got you, so, I can just sit back and relax. But it's like you should continue to date. You should continue. But like you were saying, life starts to happen, your business and your kids and blah, blah, blah. So sometimes when you're married, you're too tired to do those dating things anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I don't understand. How and I respect that, but that whole, tired of. I mean, you wasn't tired before,
right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand.
Because I was trying to get married.
I mean, you working. Is that the ultimate goal, to work towards getting the ring, getting married?
I think that's the message society tells women. I'll say that. I think that's a safe answer. I think that's the message society tells women, that that's the goal.
Well, you've got the person, but what are you going to do to keep them? Divorce rates are up, too. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, just because you're married don't mean you're going to stay married.
I don't think people even consider that. I really don't.
For a while and take a marriage vacation.
Like I'm going upstairs. You
right.
Downstairs.
But I just don't get it. I guess that's why I'm not married.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons, but I just don't understand, why does things have to change?
Just because of a ring.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you start something to get this person, and once you get them, why stop?
Mm-hmm. And I agree. And I think going back to what we were talking about on the last show about expectation, intentions, and communication, I think that needs to be a recurrent thing. It's not just a one-time thing. I think goals of a relationship are constantly evolving.
Right.
So it needs to be a constant conversation. So once we get married, now what's the next goal? Mm-hmm. Because now we have this partnership together. What are we going to work toward now together as partners? And I'm not sure if that conversation is taking place, because I think a lot of people are connecting on a very superficial level instead of, getting down in the deep of it. I just and then also going back to the intimacy, when we were talking about connecting on a superficial level and how that can contribute to some of the lack of performance or lack of satisfaction. So if my goal was just to get married and, I really don't know this person I'm with, because we've never had these deep conversations. I've never shared with you my passions in life. I don't know. Can you understand how it may be difficult for you or my mate to arouse me to the point where I am not giving you whack?
Like I said before, if you don't know me, you can't pleasure me. It's just like,
instead of getting apple pie, you're getting humble pie.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Uncooked pie.
Yeah.
Is terrible.
Exactly.
Just cold dough.
You don't want that. Don't want that.
I don't know. But yeah, that's just trying to bring everything in together. I know we're kind of just all over the place, but ultimately going back to intimacy and our lack of connectedness with each other, just on a very human level.
Can I ask? Is it also that we have lack of communication with our, or not lack of communication, lack of, or not being in tune with ourself, how can you express intimacy to someone if you don't know yourself, if you don't know how to be, I'm not saying necessarily
What you
intimate
mean? You
with
don't know your spot? What you talking about?
if you,
Your
What the-
spot at, girl. Just
the-
point it out. I
what-
touch it.
not you, I'm saying, that's what he's saying.
What the
That's
hell?
what he's saying. I'm saying, like, if you are not at a certain place in your life in which you are in tune with self, how can you project anything positive, or how can that positive vibe go out to a relationship that you're trying to create or people that you're trying to meet?
I understand that, because if you're looking to somebody else to fill voids and holes in your life, then that's where it's going to go downhill.
And I think even what you were talking about as far as lack of, whether it's mother, dad, or whatever in the household, or not having a balance or seeing a balanced relationship, and you now are looking at TV or social media and they're
Porn.
dictating. And I wrote down porn too.
Real Housewives of Atlanta
Porn.
gonna teach you how to be in a relationship.
Right. Can we talk about how porn can have your perception of intimacy so warped?
Porn
While
warps
I-
your
wait.
mind.
While I look at Will,
Exactly.
How much porn do you have in your house? Just on the average.
Porn is not reality.
it's not.
Not that I'll sit up and watch it.
Of course
You
not.
understand? But
What we heard on the street.
Uh-huh.
you see these actors,
Mhm.
actresses
Mhm.
in this industry.
Mhm.
They're like, you don't see people walking down the street with bodies like them.
Mhm.
You don't see, I mean, they're made up all the time. I mean, they're in the bed, they wake up and they're just completely made up.
Mhm.
Bodies are really nice and everything is so elaborate. The sex scenes is like through the roof. I mean, you don't
See that on the red.
see, I mean, you know.
I'm saying for you to even act out a porn scene, what I've heard was, no, I'm just like,
you don't, I mean, porn is porn.
porn is porn. It's entertainment.
Right.
That's all it is a form of
entertainment.
entertainment.
It's a form of entertainment.
But
So on a side
once
note,
you
go ahead.
allow that to get in your head to where it's not a form of entertainment and you think it's reality,
And it's an expectation.
Yes. Right.
then you have a lot of problems.
If your
Distorted.
if
You
your
can't
wife
just
can't be, you know,
Pop all the time.
Right.
You say, hey, it's time to, for the pop shot.
The pop shot.
Pop shot.
Can you elaborate, or do I need to
Don't do that. Don't do that.
You
Don't do
have to
that.
Google.
So if you want to use that as a barometer for your female partner, are you also using that as a barometer for your performance? Because those male actors have the stamina
right, to
to
last
go
all night long.
Exactly. So
Cut.
Take that break, come back.
where's the fluffer?
It's you.
How you know about a fluffer?
I read.
Just told
You know,
you.
I do my research.
It's yeah. You don't have a fluffer. You don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like you said, porn is not real. It's not real. Who's to say this guy didn't just have an orgasm like a minute ago, but you cut
Exactly.
And
and you
edit
went back
and
and went back
edit
to
it.
that
Mhm.
same
All that.
spot.
Mhm.
And you
Over
like,
and over again.
Magic of technology.
yes, you ladies, not all, but some ladies look at that and like, man, this is like 30 minutes. Really?
So we've had a discussion, and we're about to, just because we're talking about distorted thoughts, especially when it comes to porn, we've had a discussion or dialogue around people's perception of time and watching a porn and seeing something go on or a scene for 20 minutes. Who wants to really have 20 minutes of actual sex?
So the conversation was
It was talking about
because we were actually talking about oral sex.
we were talking about sex in general, and
But we
then the
start-
example was, how long do you think is an adequate amount of time for someone to perform oral sex?
Is that a question directed to me?
Well, that was a question that
Or is
we
it just-
in
is it
The
just a-
general.
general.
Okay, it just depends if you're giving or receiving.
You are receiving.
If you're receiving, it can be all day.
So
I'm
what
just
you
saying,
calling
if
it, just
you're
like, okay,
realistic.
stop it, let's come again.
realistically,
Realistic.
what's the objective to it? Are you performing
How-
for orgasm?
How long
Or
do you expect this to go?
Wow.
We need the time. It's 1:20. I mean, so we're talking about realistic. So
What- it
I
just
know
depends.
in
How long do you expect to perform oral sex?
How long you expect to be down there? Yeah, flip it around. How long you expect to be down there?
Can I expect you to be down there all
I'm
day?
timing right
Is
now.
this-
Go ahead.
Is this for men or is this just for Will? Are you
This is
asking?
for Will.
This is for
Because when
Will.
we ask men questions, you don't answer like when you answer Will questions. So we asking for Will.
That comes back to the conversation
Oh my god.
that you've had previously.
So if I gave you a popsicle, and I'm not even trying to take it anywhere, but if you sucked on a popsicle for 10 minutes, do you think that would be too long?
Well, I don't.
I mean, usually
I-
when you're talking about sex, though, you have to go with the flow with things. So you can't have a stopwatch there, like, okay, on the eighth
You're
minute.
absolutely right, but I'm going to tell you this. If I am sucking dick for 10 minutes straight,
Lockjaw.
That's gonna hurt.
thank you. 10
Really?
minutes straight.
Oh,
What can you do? I want
It's
you
been
to
60
read
seconds. Go ahead.
read a dictionary for 10 minutes straight and see what happens. You'll be ready to blow your damn brains out.
But there's different variations of that too. It's just like, are you talking about with it going down your throat, or are you
Hey,
talking about with it going?
So
I
again,
mean,
we're talking about, so there is the whole act, and then there's the performing of oral sex. I say that to say it's not realistic for you to expect for a woman to suck your dick for 30 minutes.
for 30 minutes is too long.
He's looking like he's thinking about it. Like, what's the problem?
I'm serious.
Like I said, combined with other
If
things.
she does it,
She's
she's the real motherfucking MVP. From a woman's standpoint, don't expect a woman to perform oral sex for straight 30 minutes.
I think that's just based on the individual.
If she's Sally off of the porn flick, then she might be able
It's
to.
Sally
do it.
off
3
of the
minutes
porn.
we've been talking right now.
Right.
3 whole minutes.
Sally off
So
of the
keep
porn
imagine.
flick ain't even sucking for 30 minutes, and they paying her.
All I say is, whatever conversation you have or
About to
had,
piss me off.
whatever you had, are you?
I wouldn't expect for a man to perform oral sex for 10 minutes. After 2
Is it-
minutes,
is
I'm
it
like,
for-
is you good? Wait, is you good? Is you done or is you finished? Like, what the
I'm
hell?
just saying, is it for orgasm or is it for foreplay?
Right.
There's
That's what
a
I'm saying.
difference.
Is different. Is variations
there's a
of
difference.
it.
I'm not
Am
gonna-
I intoxicated or am I not?
Yeah.
It's like
If you're involved and your woman can only have an orgasm from oral sex,
then you could go all
then
night.
you're gonna do it until
I still just don't.
It's
But
personal
the other
preference.
way
Personal
around.
preference.
If a man can't have an orgasm from oral sex, some women take that as a challenge until their jaws lock.
Right. I mean, I've had a
So,
man so
I mean,
tired he fell asleep, and it's like that's not sexual to me. It's like wake up,
Really?
wake up. You know?
So it's the
That's not
individual.
cool.
I don't think it's a realistic time frame on whatever. It's just
It is a realistic time frame. You should not expect for anybody to, like.
that's a difference. You said expect. And
We talked about EIC.
Intention.
We talked about EIC.
Communication.
Again,
well,
don't
I don't
don't
expect
get
10
it-
minutes.
Okay, you expect more?
No.
Okay.
I don't expect 10, but if I get more than 10, then
He's happy.
know what?
Right.
But you
It
know
just so
what?
happened.
That's a great answer, though.
Right.
So we've had this conversation. What was it? An hour? Somebody said an hour.
Wow.
We had brought
wow.
additional dialogue up that happened to be going on in the barbershop, and this guy said he knew that a woman orgasmed when she squirted. So now he just believes that all women squirt.
Okay.
She did. Not every woman
No,
in the
according
world.
to him, every
Every
woman
woman
that he's been
With
with.
squirts, and that's when he knows that she's had an orgasm. And I told him, stop letting these women piss on you. Okay?
R.
Basically.
Kelly.
Basically, stop letting them pee on you. Because, damn it, if you slept with, he said out of the last 5 women that he slept with, think all 5 of them, boy, stop letting these women pee on you. Because you're not finding 5 women that you've slept with 5 consecutive times in a row, it's not happening. And you have distorted thoughts if you believe that all women orgasm and squirt.
That might have been just an ego story. You never know.
And they were in the barbershop.
Exactly. It's surrounded by other men.
Well, you say anything in the barbershop.
Oh, yeah. So, getting back to the porn thing. So, how do people learn how to please their partner if not through
EIC?
So, who teaches that?
Takes a village. Final answer.
So, basically,
Who
through
teaches
trial
that?
and error.
Experience.
Trial and error.
You can't expect for someone at 18
Yeah.
to have a experience base or a knowledge base that someone would have at 30 or 40 unless they've been fucking since they've been 10.
Unless they've been watching a lot of porn.
Right.
Porn.
So I think it's trial and error. And sometimes it's okay to have the bad experiences to learn. Because then you know what you don't like and what you do like.
So, getting back to the intimacy part of the conversation, and some of the effects lack of intimacy can cause. So, apparently, lack of intimacy is causing these 15% of married couples not to be engaged in sexual endeavors, if you will. Can you be in a sexless relationship? Can you be in a sexless
Repeat yourself?
Wait,
As his eyes get big.
Can you be in a sexless relationship?
What if they're abstinent?
Happy?
I don't.
Can you be in a happy?
Can you be in a happy
sexual?
Yes.
Can two nuns get together and be happy and not have sex ever?
you know what? They probably could if they've never had sex. Can you miss something that you've never had?
That's my point.
Apple pie.
Warm apple pie.
Warm. Straight out the oven apple pie.
Oh my God.
Wait, but did you see his face?
I know. Like he's visualized. He can taste that apple
Yeah.
pie.
So
Is
how
that
about
a
we
deal
round?
breaker?
How about we round robin that? So can Pasha be in a non-sexual relationship at this point in time? The answer would be no. Lady V.
The answer for me would be, let's see, if I'm dating somebody, I would want to be intimate with them. I mean, eventually, I'll be like, hey, if you are with me, you don't want to touch my hand, you don't want to, be in bed with me or whatever. So you must be in bed with somebody else. I got a trust thing about that. You ain't sleeping with me. Who you sleeping with?
So that's a no for you.
That's a no.
Okay. Will.
What's the question again? I just want to hear the question again before I give my answer.
Can you be happy
in a sexless relationship?
Hell. No.
He's got the Whitney Houston answer. Hell to the no.
Sheneka?
So you just can't get a regular answer from me. So happy? No.
That was the question. Don't go any place else.
Tolerable.
The question was, you just posed to this man happy.
Because he was the one who qualified it with happy.
So
I just said sex.
So we're qualifying it with happy.
So I guess the short answer was no. But there's a longer answer.
Yeah, like I said, I got a longer answer too, but I answered your question.
I think there's a variable probably. Can you be in a relationship, a sexless relationship, and just be in a relationship? I think we all could say
Yes.
yeah.
That's yes to that.
And it depends on what's causing it, like the factors. If it's because we grown apart and I don't like you and all this other stuff, you doing stuff
with somebody else.
like no, yeah.
You talking initially or just stuff sustained?
Sustained.
Yeah.
No.
Jesus.
No. What if it's medical? Really? You leaving her?
If I'm in
I
a
didn't say I was
relationship and
leaving.
the sex stops, then that's a bad thing. But if I've never had sex with you before, then that's a different story.
Marriage or dating?
Dating. What if you're dating someone, everything's great, you have a wonderful sex life, and she has an accident or there's a medical issue which causes that to decline?
And
But
we're dating?
But you all
He's
been
leaving.
together. I know.
He's already left after 40 days.
Leaving. Girl, your cooter don't work. I'm leaving.
There's other ways.
There's other ways.
Are you leaving? Eventually.
Creative.
That 10-minute deal. We're going to have to put some more time on it. If one ain't working, we're gonna have to do some exercise. Nah, but seriously, no. I wouldn't.
He's buying the blow up doll.
I mean, I would never bought that. I've never, but no, I wouldn't. I mean, that's like heartless to do that. I wouldn't do it. If I'm into the person, then I'm into them. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be sex, but the intimacy I need.
Exactly.
I don't need the sex, but I need the waking up beside someone that you want to be with. Makes me feel better than the sex, because after however many 3 pumps, 10 minutes, that shit's over. Then what you got?
You're absolutely right.
Wonderful answer.
You with that person. I know if I'm in the bed with the person I want to be with, I wake up, I got all night. That's all night of intimacy.
You know what? Your DM gonna be popping with what? That answer right there. Hope you ready for
Angela,
it.
Pamela.
Oh, girls gonna be up. Yeah, I like that answer. I like that.
So, are there certain? What does it look like when a man is no longer?
What? I can't read your mind.
So we wanted to talk about intimacy issues. Are they intimacy issues or are they sexual performance issues?
I think one can lead to the other.
Okay.
I think, as I was attempting to state earlier, I think due to lack of intimacy, we may open ourselves up to relationships, superficial relationships, in an effort to fill certain voids. And I think we do it unintentionally or subconsciously. And that may contribute to us, because the relationship is on a very superficial level, not being able to be fully aroused by someone. Also, I'll stay right there. I'll put a pin in it right there. Yeah.
So you want to take that?
Right there.
So I have seen in the last, I'm going to say 10 years, that there has been a larger number of men who have, not saying personal experience, erectile dysfunction, right? For different reasons, whether it be because of drug use, whether it be because of alcohol abuse, medication, health issues. So
too much manual stimulation.
Is that for real?
Yeah. So I read
in her
that.
notes.
I read that. So yeah. So
I gotta hear this.
So okay. So this is what I read. So what I read is, if a man or a woman self-stimulates too much, your body becomes used to climaxing or arousing, or what do you call it? Nothing. Based on that. So when you actually get the real thing, and the real thing don't necessarily feel like.
So what is too much?
I don't know where the fine line is, sir.
I mean, no. I mean, we were
I
talking.
think you need to ration it out.
You have to ask the doctor what is too much.
Ask the doctor what's too much. So if you're watching the porn and you're self-stimulating, and I'm sorry, I am making gestures. If you're self-stimulating from watching porn on a regular and consistent basis, when you get the real thing, what it takes to satisfy her may not be what it takes to satisfy yourself based on the manual stimulation you've been doing over a course of time. Does that make sense?
Because you'll be too quick, because you're like, oh man,
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, it definitely makes sense.
So same thing with the woman. If she's used to self-stimulating, she hasn't been in a relationship for an extended period of time. And as Will stated in our previous show, we have an endless resource of gadgets that we can use.
Charge the bullets here.
You can charge up the battery.
To self-stimulate, and you're used to achieving orgasm through that method. When Will E come along, and he can't
Really do.
and not that he can't do it, lay it down, but you're used to your toys. It's going to be a lot different.
I have heard that. I really, really have. Women, y'all need to lay off these fucking toys.
I mean, what if you got a 12-inch dildo and then no man is like going to be 13, 14 inches and you're expecting that. The expectations and the intentions do
and
not
you
line
need to
up.
put 12 inches in
I'm
there.
just saying, they
okay, girl.
I mean, you got these stores making these unrealistic toys and then here comes a real man come along. You're like, wait a minute, this ain't right.
How long is 12 inches, ma'am?
Okay, girl.
If you 5'2",
I'm just saying.
Unrealistic expectations.
Unreal. Thank you, lady.
I do think so. And I think that has to deal with the
Intimacy train just came on through.
intimacy train. Hey. But Sheneka, you were talking about something? See, y'all, the train went by. We ain't even gonna lie. The train went by. That's gonna be a blooper moment for us. But
And I lost my train
of thought.
Wah, wah, wah. So basically talking about too much porn. You watching too much porn. I'm sorry. Self-stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
When you're used to stimulating yourself for an extended period of time, and now you're introducing somebody, as far as a relationship, there may be contributing factors due to the self-stimulation why this person can't satisfy you because your body has become accustomed to being stimulated by this inanimate object. Or, what do you call it? Mary Palmer?
we were talking about the 12 inches.
12 inches. You know what?
50 Shades of Grey, 12 inches.
First of all, stand up and see how long 12 inches is.
Dark.
You can't even get 12 inches.
Some
And
women might
ladies,
be
don't
able
take
to.
my card. Don't take my woman card, but you can't get 12 inches in you.
Here's 13 down here.
Is that what they say, Mendy?
Yeah.
And that's for entertainment purposes only.
Yes. It is for entertainment purposes only. So, I think that's also a contributing factor to some of the dysfunctions that people suffer from. Because and I think that also creates the 3-minute brother or the 2-minute brother because when you're self-stimulating, you're not looking for intimacy, you're looking for the end result.
Right.
So I think it's kind of hard to transfer that self-stimulation to satisfying somebody else. I think based on what I read.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm
Yeah.
just saying
That piercing
porn,
look that you have.
well, because that porn thing, that's not reality. When you get in that warm apple pie, it has nothing to do with the porn.
Well, I'm talking about your body.
Your body, yes. You can't stimulate the real thing, even with your hands.
It's like it's nothing better than actually doing it. Is what
Right.
That's what I'm thinking he's trying to say.
But
It's just
do you think that would contribute to a quick release?
No. Being without, and you're really, really like into this person, contributes to the quick release. If you don't have mental or mind control over yourself when it comes to that,
Because like you said, men are very visual, so it's just like if it's you and just your hand, it's like, okay, well, I know how this is going to end up or whatever.
Yeah,
But if
you know how to
see a
get it to
beautiful
work.
woman, that's a difference. That's a whole different ballgame.
just like she's saying, the end result. You've seen this movie. You know how it's going to
I was
end.
going in.
So, like, you're looking at this porn or whatever it is, and you are self-stimulating yourself. So you know, after however long it's going to end.
Why do you have to emphasize long?
Like after you self-stimulate, you still alone in your torn
But
on.
when you're with your mate and you feel that warm apple pie, it's just undescribable. Guys, you know what I'm talking about. I can't really explain to these ladies the feeling, but it's just something about it. That's like undescribable. But we all like warm apple pie, so we know how it
You
is straight
can't
out
get
the
that jacket off. It's just,
No. Your hand, I mean, what I was told, your hand get tired. You have to switch hands.
Carpal tunnel.
and my point is, after you finish jacking off, you're still lonely. You're still in the house with the lights on and Vaseline. It's like, okay. So that woman there, that's a whole, different dimension. Yeah.
So I think when we just bringing the intimacy part back around, when we talk about all these factors that we're talking about, now we have additional factors because Pasha brought up health issues such as maybe being on medication that may impact your ability to perform. Also, drug use, smoking also may impact your ability to perform. And one of the things I think is that men truly base their ego. Like, you need to know that you satisfied this woman. Is that true? Based on not your friends, but the other people you hang
Other
out
people,
with.
yeah, I mean, it's a lot of ego driven.
So, do you care that you satisfied this woman?
Once again, it goes back to the individual. If your goal or mission, whatever you want to call it, is to build on a relationship, you don't want to not satisfy the woman that you're with if you're working towards a relationship. If you're just trying to bust one, what I was told, it doesn't matter if you are a selfish individual person. Yeah, I mean, that's just what I've been told on the streets.
Lady V, what you think?
All this street talk. Let's
The streets is hot.
yes. And so let's reintroduce the question again. I was listening to Mr. Will talking. So what was the question again?
Dang, I don't forgot the question. Basically, we were talking about combined with what we were talking about, whether it's porn, whether it's lack of having skin hunger. I know we don't like that term. We also have health issues that affect men's ability to perform. Smoking, drug use, alcohol use, all of that plays into guys' inability to perform. Damn, what was the question?
I think it was a specific man question. You probably couldn't ask me the
Because
question.
I said something
that.
about your friend. Jeez, Pasha up here distracting me. So
Don't blame it on me.
I know. So let me flip it. So as far as a woman's inability, and I don't want to say perform, is it a performance issue or maybe just a reaction? Is it her ability to have the orgasm? Is that the issue? Or do women have a performance issue?
Well, I think women's ability to orgasm is not always. It's more linked to the physical or to the emotional than it is to the physical. So that's where depression. That's where being unattracted or not having feelings, emotions. There's something going on in the relationship. You're upset. You don't want to have sex with someone who you're actually upset with. And even if you have sex, are you going to orgasm off of it? Probably not.
Yeah, it's definitely a very mental thing with women. It's like, if I'm not happy with that person, I don't want to have sex with you. I'm like, yeah.
And I even think a woman can will herself to orgasm off of a mediocre sexual experience if she puts herself in a mental place to do so.
So a couple things. One, I want to reference an article. It said, I'm just going to read it. It says, women act as if sex is still a process of serving men and often deny that they are sexual beings who need to be serviced at least as much, if not more, than men. And then I want to kind of go back to my days working with this adult novelty company. They had a lot of training, which they gave us. Not practical training, but we actually had seminars.
It's called OJT.
No, seriously though. But even when I hosted these parties, the amount of women who have never had an orgasm. Like, never had an
Wow.
orgasm. And it's not who you think it would be, you know. And it's like, and it's funny how candid people will get with you, strangers, when you're in the room. So after the party, we'll go off to the side and they'll pick out their little, their little sex toys that they wanted or what have you.
They're novelty items.
They're novelty items.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the
See,
thing.
there we go.
But a lot of women have never achieved orgasm outside of self-pleasure or outside of clitoral stimulation. So with that, and this article talking about women feel like the whole process of sex should be to satisfy the men. They don't feel like it's about satisfying themselves. And that could be a contributing factor. They don't feel I don't want to say worthy of it, but they think it's about the man.
Cheers.
Which is why I think we have situations of women doing all kind of crazy. He want to bring another woman in, okay, because he want to do it. He want to do some acts on you that you may not necessarily be down with. You'll do it because you think it's about satisfying him, and you're not into it, but you're doing it because you think that's going to keep him. And even when you're talking about the Netflix and chill, or just hooking up with somebody on the first date. Well, if I do it, he'll like me. Not necessarily that you're into it and you about that life. And for those who are about that life, hey, more power to you. It's all good. But for some, I think they're not even about that life. They're just trying to do whatever it is to satisfy him, just to get in the front door.
Girl, you better get in tune with yourself.
I'm just saying.
Because once you know,
As you roll your eyes.
once you know, I think that once you are one with who you are, being in a place and I'm not even talking about sexual, I'm just talking about being confident in who you are, knowing what you like and don't like, knowing how to communicate that to whomever. I think it opens up a place in your life in which once you step into that door, you're in paradise at that point in time. It's like euphoria. It really is. And I say that because approaching a certain age in my life, I was a little scared, but now I'm there, and I feel at one with myself. So
I think Will pointed it out. It definitely comes with age and maturity. And
why had to come with age? Why
calling
can't
her
it just be maturity?
I didn't say or.
I was talking about maturity. I wasn't talking about age.
Somebody in their feelings. It's okay.
It's maturity.
It's okay.
I'm at a good place in my life in which I've experienced a lot. I know how to say no. I know how to say no without an explanation. If you don't like
and
it,
you know how to say yes to what you want. And
Absolutely.
you know how to go after what you want.
Absolutely.
And not care what nobody
not care. So,
yes. Lock the door after you leave.
please, I'm not even bringing you to the house.
Wow.
Where you want to meet at?
Oh my God. That's funny. That's funny.
And I'm serious.
Oh, I see the look.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. All jokes aside.
All jokes aside.
Yeah.
Don't come on this ride if you ain't tall enough.
You have to be a certain height to ride. I understand.
No sandwiches being made after that.
No.
You have your standards. I mean,
No sandwiches being made.
No sandwiches.
You better eat before you get over here.
Man.
Bring your
So I think going back to the communication part again, having these conversations. So when you with somebody and they don't perform to standard,
What is standard?
whatever your standard
Whatever
is.
your standard is.
But
whatever your standard is.
Not the
don't you think
unrealistic
you need
porn
to talk
standard.
about your standard?
Yeah, and that's what I was going to.
Okay,
Having
I'm
that
sorry.
conversation about what the,
He got it.
he
He got it.
He got it. This is maturity right here.
You gonna have a little seminar from? You gonna tell your boys? You gonna tell your boys what you learned here about EIC?
My boys gonna know.
Oh,
They already know.
Right, they
I
married.
told you, my best friends are happily married.
gotcha.
So I'm saying all this because when I see them, I'm around them. This is what I see in relationship. I know what don't want to say perfect because, but what I see in my eyes is a great relationship, marriage. I see this in my best friends. So I mean, I love being around that because I see what strong love is, and you're not going to always get along, but you see the love. You don't have to, it's not something that you read and talk about. You see it.
Right. Good examples of black love.
Oh, that's the best.
Yes.
And like I said, well, not main, but my best friend here, I see it daily. So I'm just as close to his wife as I am to him. So, I mean, it makes it better when we're all like family. I mean, they're closer to me than my own family. So I can talk to them about whatever, and I see the intimacy with them on a daily basis, the touching and playing, and nothing has changed from before they got married up until now. And that's like ideal. So that's the bar to set for me. If I can feel that from a woman, what I see that he gets from his wife and what she give, then hey, until I reach that or meet that, then you know what? Next.
Dang it. So going back to the conversation, so when someone doesn't meet the standard, is that an automatic dismissal, or are we having a conversation to see if you can work on whatever it is that may be affecting your ability to satisfy?
Lady V?
Like he said, it comes with maturity, because back in my 20s, I'm like, okay, I'm just running away. I ran away a lot back in my past, but now...
You about that life, Lady V?
In my 20s, I said. In my 20s. But now that I'm in my late 30s, I'm just like, maybe we can talk about it. Maybe we can work it out. If I really like this person, I'm not going to just run away. I'm going to see if we can try to work it out. I do have my standards. I got my terms and conditions and everything, but I'm at the age now where it's just like, well, man, I would like to have an intimate relationship with somebody, and I know I can't do that if I keep on running away from folks.
Very mature of you.
So are we willing to work with, and I guess this is for the ladies, are we willing to work with or work through someone or with someone, male, who may have some erectile dysfunction?
Like Viagra, Cialis, that people build, they got stuff to help with that.
So the pill popping is happening.
Oh, so the pill popping is happening anyway, I think, and it's happening younger. Like, I've heard.
What is this being directed at you? Are
no.
Are you willing to?
Well, like Lady V said, I think nowadays they have enhancers, if you will, to help through that process. But I know there are guys in their 20s and 30s
Absolutely.
who are popping it not only for recreation, but because they have erectile dysfunction. And I don't know if it's just the way we're going as far as society, more stress, less healthy, all of these other factors that's contributing to what's going on with us health-wise. But younger and younger, we see that men are on Viagra and Cialis and all these other enhancers that they sell at the QT right by the cash register. Does that stuff work?
Is Hugh Hefner still having sex?
I don't think that's age. I don't think that's an age that they're getting these enhancers for lack of. I think they getting them enhancers to make sure that they please the person. Not saying that they're not.
So they're getting them for preventative. To make sure.
For guarantees.
Guarantees.
Like, I can stay hard for 14 hours. Because I
They
took this
say
pill.
they say you're supposed to call a doctor after 4 hours.
Exactly.
That's what they say. I mean, I don't know.
Maybe it's
but
recreational.
I'm
Maybe
just
it's
saying.
entertainment and recreational.
Yes. So what I was told, this is not from anyone close to me, but if you are with this woman that you close to this 90 days and you want to make sure that, it continues, you're going to go on and take a couple of little blue pills, maybe have you a nice little drink after your dinner. So at 89 days at midnight.
Wait, so it's in your system? So you
however long it takes for this to kick in, you want to make sure at that 90-day period that you I shouldn't hit on the table, but you are ready.
You stallion ready.
Yeah. So that's what I was told, that you take those for that reason, to make sure that you perform at your maximum.
Okay.
89.
After 90 days.
So, because we know that ED is caused from certain issues, medical issues, are we willing to stay with? I should say stay with. Are we willing to work through the process with our partners to get them to understand? Because some men don't know why they may have erectile dysfunction. They don't.
They may be sensitive about it.
Or
in denial. So are we having, if we come into situations where we've come across a low to no performing person, are we having that conversation? Are we being our brother's keepers?
And I'm going to just echo what Ladyvee said. I think that comes with maturity.
We are all mature.
We are all mature.
Mature.
And I think at this day and age, I would hope that we could talk through that process.
I'm down with that.
If you really care about somebody, you really want them in your life, then you would have that conversation. If it's just a nut to you, then it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Especially if everything else is in order. I'll just say that.
Okay.
So you can't be raggedy everywhere else and have this erectile dysfunction.
Okay.
Everything else the majority of our life have to be in order, and this is just a little obstacle. We have to work through. Just a little hiccup. On the flip side, and I'm gonna get serious just for a little bit, from a woman's perspective, and their inability to perform, the article pointed out previous traumatic sexual experience. I think 1 in 4 women over the course of a lifetime will have experienced some type of sexual assault in their life. And I think a lot of times that is repressed, and those conversations are not being had in general, in addition to with their partners. So that could be contributing to their inability, to the whack cuda, Will. So have you ever had an experience where a woman shared with you that she had just a traumatic sexual experience, just in general, and that impacted her ability to even get close to you?
It's happened. Not necessarily to me, but I've known it to happen to where if a woman has had that bad experience, or like we talked about, having a father figure growing up, then that affects the woman in actually knowing what love is. Like we talked about, if someone is doing this with the purpose of just trying to get some sex, or if they're sincere about saying, love is something that I don't feel everyone should just use love, but it's used so freely now. It's like, oh, I love you. How can you love me? We just met yesterday. You know what I'm saying? So when people use, it's just not a word that's thrown out that I'll throw out saying love, because it means a lot. When you say love, that means a lot, but people don't take it that way. And back to what you were saying about, dealing with ladies that had whatever issues. I have had that where a woman don't want you touching them a certain way because they've been in whatever type of relationship, or they were treated, I don't want to say rape, but they were put in an uncomfortable position. So you're intimate, or you're being intimate with this person, and you're into it, you're getting a little freaky or whatever, and you go to twist or turn and you touch them in a certain way, and then everything's like shut down. So you don't really know unless you talk about it. So that's when, the conversation will come up that, whatever happened when I was younger, just don't do that, So, you can work around it, though.
But I think the important part is just having that communication and knowing, because in instances as far as women's lack of performance or being able to fully satisfy, I think we are dealing with what society tells us, because society tells us we need to be women and you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't like it that way, and you should, and also whatever baggage we bring to the table as far as our past sexual experiences, whether it was traumatic, whether it was bad, or just not even being in tune with yourself, not knowing where your spot at. Pasha, you know your spot at?
Shit.
Ooh, boy.
But then again, talking about some of those other things we talked about, going back to the lack of intimacy, lack of touch, and just the way society is moving, although technology is bringing us closer together via social media in some aspects, is also pulling us further apart because we hide behind those devices instead of getting to know one another. So again, that contributes to our ability to be intimate with somebody, to confide in somebody face to face. People tell you whatever behind the screen, but when it comes to being face to face, close to someone, oftentimes that's a difficult transition. So
Over the phone.
do people even talk on the phone anymore?
No, they text, which sucks.
So again, that's the inability
To communicate
connect.
well.
Because the tone, you have to hear tone and
Yeah.
And you can't
intonation.
communicate tone over 15,
Yeah.
14
Yes.
characters.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's what cracks me up. How can you say I'm mad and I send you a text?
LOL.
I'm like, if you don't
No.
put like
Smiley face.
a smiley face or something behind it, then
You don't know.
whatever the conversation is, I'm good. But if I just say whatever, no caps, because I was told that
So many rules.
somebody was like, well, why are you yelling at me? What the hell is yelling? How am I yelling and I'm sending a text? So these things that communicating with me through text is not good. I'm not a good texter. Is that a word?
It is today.
Right.
Okay, well,
I
we gonna
mean,
use
in
that.
my experience, if you're texting me, you might be with your other woman. You can't talk to me. Why can't you talk to me?
Yeah.
You know, at that moment in time, is there a reason why you're texting me? It's like a whole big analyzing thing.
What you hiding. So yeah. So we're gonna get to what?
Takeaways. We're always talking about takeaways. What have we learned this show?
I think we learned some of the contributing factors to why people, one, lack intimacy, two, may have some sexual dysfunctions, whether it's erectile dysfunction or a woman's inability to achieve orgasm or climax, and also the need to communicate. The need to communicate. I think as Homo sapiens, we need to get closer together and not allow the technology to pull us apart, and also not allow some of our personal experiences to serve as obstacles as to why we can't invite people into our lives. So I know,
And being in touch with self.
being in touch with self, physically and theoretically, right?
In touch with self.
Yeah, that was a song. Remember back in the day, I touch myself. You remember
TLC made a song about that too. Was it on Tweet? Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do it. But don't do it too much, because with
I
porn,
know.
It can mess you up.
It'll mess you up. You have to find that healthy balance with it.
Absolutely. So, to end this show, no. First, we're going to say thank you to the guest host for today, Will E.D.
Thank you very much.
What that D stand for?
And Lady V, we're actually going to close out with Lady V hopefully giving us a piece today.
Well, we've been talking about intimacy and just, love and relationships. So let's close out with a love piece, a love poem today. That would be wonderful. This poem is very, very short, but that's not to say. Anyways, we're talking about long and short. But this is a love piece that has no title. Come, walk deep within my eyes. Look at me the way you do. Smile as you hungrily touch me and make me into your woman. I'm here, you're here, and together we define love. We grope for each other in the dark. We taste each other's lips and instantly remember how good it feels to feel so close, to forget every other thing. But don't pleasure me, don't perform for me. Just indulge yourself. Do to me what makes you moan and sweat and beg for it never to end. Lock me deep into your heart, my love, and take me wherever you go.
All righty.
Snap.
All right.
Snap.
I don't snap, but damn.
Will up there having a moment. Yes.
And that was Ladyvee DaPoet. You can find all my work on artoutloudatl.com.
That's right. Shout yourself out. I want to hear about your social media and also any endeavors that you have going on.
Yes, tonight I'm going to be at Hodgepodge Coffee House, the Do You Lyric Lounge. Be a part of Indie Art Edition. So we're going to have paparazzi jewelry in the house of vendor Crystal Monet, and it's going to be an open mic variety show full of singers and poets and comedians and all types of talent. So every second Saturday at Hodgepodge Coffee, 720 Moreland Avenue.
Absolutely. And you have something else you need to plug.
And I have something else. Can you remind me of what that something else is?
What's your other? Hotlanta Yoga?
Yes. On the third Saturday, we have the Hotlanta Open Mic Variety Show at Hotlanta Yoga Studio, 439 Edgewood Avenue. On the 7th, I think it's July the 15th will be my next show, and it's the Summer Spa Edition. So we're going to have Nataki with her massage chairs. We're going to have a vendor, NYR Organic, selling health and beauty products. It's the Summer Spa Edition, so you got to come out and make sure that you get on the mic and get your massage.
Awesome. And social media.
Social media, you can find me on artoutloudatl.com and also meetup.com/COFFIE. It stands for Connecting Friends for In-Town Events. So definitely go on there. You can get discount tickets. You can get, all videos and all types of stuff on artoutloudatl.com or meetup.com/coffee.
Awesome. Sheneka, you have any closing words?
You know what? I enjoyed this segment. I enjoyed our guests. Pasha, I even enjoyed your crazy self. So, crazy girl. So, yeah. I hope everybody listened to the show, take away something from what we discussed today. I know it seems like it's all fun and games and what have you, but we do want you to take away something from the conversation. And I think again, we're going back to the EIC. I think communication in this particular segment is very important. And communicating, what's going on with you, being in tune with yourself and honest with yourself and also your partner. So that's all I get.
So, okay. So, I don't think anybody could have said anything more, or I could say anything more that no one else has said. I enjoyed Ladyvee. I enjoyed Will. I enjoyed Sheneka. And tune in and catch us next time. I think we're done, people. We are done. All right.
Obama out.
Obama out.